Hey everyone, this is the first episode of our virtual career and college fair. I want to take this opportunity that, we're in a different circumstance to invite some of those individuals who were planning on coming to the SNAP meet this year and presenting the career fair to do a little interview to give us some insight so you can at least still get some information, during this time away from school. So our first guest, his name is Tyson Gunter, and he is a professional athlete. He took place on Team USA in the Rio Summer Olympic Games for the Paralympics. And I went to school with Tyson. I went to middle school with Tyson, went to high school with Tyson, played football with him, did track and field. Is a great individual, and he has some great insight on what it takes to take your skill level from high school to the college level, things to be aware of, and also he talks about his career in marketing. And I think that's a great asset we have, someone who is in the marketing field right now to give us a little insight. Maybe you're thinking about some different options. Give a listen to Tyson, see what you think, and maybe do some research on some marketing. And maybe that might be something you might enjoy. So sit back, relax, let's listen to Tyson, and let's enjoy what he has to say.
Hi, everybody. So, as Tim said, I'll share a little about my history, and then, or sorry, Mr. Welch, right?
Whatever.
um, uh, but just a little bit about that, and then I think he has some questions that will help kind of guide the conversation. So, I'm a year older than Mr. Welch or Tim. I know him by Tim as a friend, but went through high school, and ever since I was very young, I've had an interest in sports and athletics, like a lot of kids do. And I'm the youngest, and so all my siblings played sports and were fairly successful. And so for me, it's just been part of my growing up. And I've also enjoyed business. The idea of marketing and creating a business to be successful and building a community of customers has been something that I've really enjoyed as well since I was young. I think in when I was in middle school or something, I started selling just random things on eBay, and I just thought it was so cool. And so that was kind of where my business and marketing interest came from. Um, and then as I got older and sports and another thing too, similar to what you guys probably experience where you live is um, I grew up on a dairy farm, so I didn't have a chance to really go out and do a lot of things. So sports was my entertainment, and I know you guys, you may not be in a farm situation, but where you're in a rural area where there may not be a lot to do, sports is a great thing to keep your time and potentially go on to college if it's something you're interested in doing or have a little skill at. When I did go after I played football as the kicker on the team with Tim and was lucky enough to go out and kick in college for 1 year. After that year, I took 2 years off to go on a mission for the church and do some service there. And then when I came back, I planned to continue to kick, and my goal is to make it to the NFL, like everybody wants to do when they're an athlete. Your goal should always be to, or always seems to be, to go on to become the best you can, right? When I got back, I ended up staying close to home and went to Idaho State University. That's where I enrolled to school, and I was trying to get on the football team there. And due to some things out of my control, um, and the coaching staff decided they were going to go a different direction, and so I ended up on the track team, and that's worked out very well for me. I went into be an academic all conference performer every year in the Big Sky Conference, as well as scoring points for my team at all the conference championships to um, being having the opportunity to move on and be on the Team USA as a track and field athlete. So I've been very fortunate. I love football and I missed it, and I still wish I could have seen where my potential went. But I think one of the things I learned is being open to different scenarios. Even though you have a goal in life, sometimes it just doesn't work out, and that's okay. So you kind of learn from things that you learn to be more successful. So, and then along the way, my opportunity as an athlete has given me great opportunities to learn. Um, I was able to go to college. I didn't get a scholarship my first year, but then the last 3 years of college, I earned a scholarship. So be able to have a little less financial burden to be able to learn was awesome, and it's helped me into my career where I am now.
Well, thanks, Tyson. And for being a teammate of Tyson's on the football team, he is a freak field goal kicker, kickoff, punt as well. And I remember your longest field goal is at a 47 or a 51-yard field goal in one or your senior year.
Um, in high school, in a game, it was 46 or 47 yards, um, and so that was fun.
Yeah. What was your longest in college?
So I never that first the year that I played in college, because I was a freshman, I just did the kickoffs. I never did kick in a game. They had an older kicker that the coaches felt like were more accurate, and they were probably right. But I could kick farther as far as distance wise. Um, in practice, several times I kicked 55-yard field goals, but my accuracy wasn't as good. But in the kickoffs, I did really well.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, going in football and also what were um what were your events in track and field?
In high school, I the first couple years I just high jumped, and then my senior year I started long jumping and sprinting. And I don't necessarily regret not doing those other events before, but I feel like I could have been a lot better in the other events. It's kind of like I was talking about with the football not necessarily working out, but something else did. I feel like if I would have done all the other events as a younger kid, I could have, and it worked out for me obviously, but I feel like I could have been even better in those other things. And when I did get into college, my college coach pushed me to do some sprints and the long jump, and I did pretty well in all of those, and ultimately that helped me to make the team to go to Rio in the 400 meters.
How was your experience participating with Team USA?
How I get asked that a lot, and I don't know exactly how to answer. I mean, obviously it was great, but like I wish I could express it's the behind the scenes stuff that you don't get to see is stuff I really enjoyed some of it and some of it I didn't enjoy so much, right?
Yeah,
It was really, really cool to just be part of the whole experience from, and the first time through, I loved even the paperwork and reading all the information and like getting sizes for my clothes. And um, the first the first experience I had is when we went to Rio's. We stopped in Houston to get all of our gear, and it was like an 8 hour process of getting tailored and trying on clothes and um, checking out all these different things and getting stuff fitted and I loved it. I thought it was super cool. The guys that have done it a few times were kind of bored of it, but for me, it was awesome as part of the experience. And then some of the not so glamorous stuff was, the waiting. Like at the opening ceremonies, we waited. It was probably an 8 hour process before we actually walked out into the stadium, and so that part was great. But the waiting was like, holy cow! The food isn't great that we have. Um, at the Village. We did have access to McDonald's, but you try to stay away from that a little bit as an athlete. But definitely went in there several times. So my experience was amazing, and I had a different experience than maybe if you were to travel to Rio, because I had the Olympic game experience versus, or the Paralympic game experience versus like a vacation in Rio experience, and
Yeah,
that was good.
that's definitely understandable. That's awesome. Just to kind of see where you've progressed and where life has taken you. And like you said, you grew up wanting to play in the NFL, and now you were part of the Team USA that went to Rio.
Yeah, and hopefully Tokyo, which is not this year anymore, but that's just another, I guess, hurdle or another obstacle that you just got to work around. I think being an athlete, and this experience that I get from being an athlete, you can get in other places, right? So especially for the kids that we're talking to, I think it's important to understand that you can learn your life lessons in different ways, whatever you do. But for me, as being an athlete, and I've learned you kind of gotta evolve as things change. This situation we're in now with the games being postponed a year, it's like one day I was training, getting ready for a season. The next day it was like now I have an extended off season. So the changes are hard to grasp sometimes, but learning how to adjust to those, I think, is really important. And I'm not great at it, but I'm learning how to get better at it.
Yeah, and I think even for all of us during this time with all the changes, restrictions that are being put on us. Because right now I'm in my daughter's playroom at home, having this call, and still doing some work. Um, but I think that's a very great lesson that you brought up, just being able to adapt to change, and because right now, yeah, especially our students, a lot of them or all of them are working from home and kind of adapting to that change. And for our seniors, um,
Hmm.
yeah, it's kind of it, and trying to put some things together and getting ready to make that transition into after high school. So I want to bring us back. Oh, go ahead, Tyson.
No, I think you hit it right on. It's evolution. My heart goes out to. I feel sick for the seniors across the country that aren't going to get may not get a chance to do some things that they probably look forward to a long time, whether it's compete their senior season in sports or graduation or whatever. So this experience you guys are having, it's not easy by any means, but it's going to teach you something you'll be able to have with you the rest of your life.
Definitely. So I'm going to backtrack just a little bit. So back to where you're a senior in high school. When your senior year, were you thinking of pursuing, college for football, or what was your thought process and maybe the process that took you from high school athletics to college athletics?
It wasn't till probably my junior or senior year that I even considered track and field as an option for college sports. My focus was on football, and I was lucky to have a support system through my family and some people I knew to help me through that. And another thing, I wanted it so bad. I did a lot of the research myself. One of the things that I learned is the process isn't just, oh, you get a letter, you sign up for college, you go. The NCAA has some specific guidelines that you have to follow as a junior and senior in high school, and you have to graduate with certain criteria, not just graduate, but with certain criteria in order to even be eligible to do sports in college. And then there's some paperwork and all this stuff, and that's the stuff that like you don't really realize, kind of the behind the scenes stuff that you never see or they never talk about on TV when you're watching a college football game. Um, and I almost wasn't eligible to do track when I came back from my mission. But my thought process was get through all this stuff that I'm learning about. Like, okay, I got to do this paperwork. I got to send in these documents. I got to graduate with these credits. And then the other thought process was, where am I going to go? Um, I was lightly recruited by BYU to play there, um, and that was my goal. But when they got a new head coach, and it kind of things changed pretty quickly my senior year. Another thing I had to evolve. I just wanted to play at that point. I didn't care necessarily where, and I knew that I was going to take a couple years off, and so I just kind of took a flyer, and I was like, I'm going to go out to Virginia. It's totally across the country from where I live. I don't know anybody there, but if it doesn't work out, I'm just out there for a few months and then whatever. Um, so that was kind of my thought process. It all evolved very quickly over the course of a couple of months of where I was end up going to go to school. And at that point I didn't really wasn't really focused on the school part of it. Now I'm glad that I shifted that mentality. Um,
With so you get to college. Um, what does the daily life as a college athlete look like in terms of the athletic side and the academic side?
that's a really good question, and it was very different from football to track and field. So with football, we were we were up in the morning. We had a film session usually 2 to 3 times a week before classes, and then I ate on campus in the cafeteria. So I'd go eat breakfast, and then go to class throughout the day. And then we usually had a team meeting right after class got out, and then practice after the team meeting, and then after practice we went to lift. So it was like a 10 to 12 hour ordeal every day in football, and then after all of that, you wanted to socialize, be with your friends. So I stayed up a lot later than I should have, and had a lot of fun, and did not do great in school my first semester. I will be honest. Um, and then in track and field, it was different in the sense that we didn't have. So we had practice in the afternoon. So I did in the morning. I just ate, went to class, had a little time off between classes some days, and then practice in the afternoon, and then lifting after that. So it was like a 3 to 4 hour extra, instead of where football was like between the meetings and the film sessions and the practice and the lifting. It was like 6 to 7 hours a day. So track was a little less demanding time wise, but physically it was a lot harder. And then including um, homework in that was when I got to Idaho State and got on the track team. It became, because I didn't do well my first semester, I knew I needed to do better in school. So I focused more on my school, and I also had a couple extra hours a day to be able to do more school stuff. And that also allowed me to get involved in clubs at the university, which I highly recommend. Anybody that goes on to college, whether you do sports or not, like, get involved with stuff going on at the university. Don't just go to class. Like, get involved with a club, get involved with um, any of the social things that are going on, and go to the sporting events, have fun. I think the involvement is one of the best parts of going to college.
Awesome. I think that brings the insight to going to college itself is just rigorous, but then throwing on top of the athletics, trying to find that balance, like you said, trying to find the balance of personal, social, and then your athletic life, kind of to work for you can be tough. But it sounds like you know kind of that theme we've been talking about, like adapting. You've kind of saw what you needed to do to adapt to meet your needs. the different football and track. Um, but yeah, I think that um, the process it takes to get to college to be an athlete, like you said, all that behind the scenes stuff and the paperwork, the eligibility is extremely important because correct me if I'm wrong, you know, not doing some of those things, or even when you get to college, if you aren't meeting a certain criteria like GPA, that could it affect your play, your eligibility?
Yeah, and for me, I almost lost 1 year of eligibility because I did transfer. I went from a school in Virginia to Idaho State University, and because I between not doing very well in a couple of the classes I took, in Virginia, and then the transferring process of losing some credits, I had to fill out a lot of exception doc paperwork, and I had to work through. I was lucky to have a really good academic advisor in college, which is another thing I think anybody that goes to college should take advantage of their academic advisor. And that's similar to what, if I'm not mistaken, that's kind of what you are helping some of the kids with at your school is preparing them academically to get through the right classes so
Yeah.
they graduate with the right credits, stuff like that. And um, so kids, pay attention because he's really there to help you. And if it wasn't for my academic advisor, I would have lost a year of eligibility, and that would have not been too fun.
Well, great. Um, and so you've had this college athletic career, and how, and we talked a little bit about, kind of the after, college, how is, what has your life been from the college to the post college career?
I graduated college. For me, it was crazy because I got married. So I had graduation 1 week. The next week, I had my final conference championships in track and field, and the next week, I got married. So that was like a 3 week crazy time for me.
Yeah.
um, I took an internship. My ultimate goal was to work in sports marketing. I loved sports, obviously, and I didn't necessarily. I obviously wanted to be a professional athlete, but I knew that that may or may not happen, and I needed to think realistically about how could I be involved in sports in another way. And I took my love for marketing and said, "Hey, let's sports marketing." So I did an internship right after college, and I thought with a minor league baseball team here in Eastern Idaho, and that was a great experience. And then I continued to just try to build off of that internship. Um, I was in a little different situation because in our area, that team is really the only team that you could work for, and because it's a small minor league team, they didn't really have any jobs outside of internships. And my wife was still in school, so we moved back to Pocatello, where the school is, and I just found a job in a small business marketing. And I was like, for the next couple of years, I'm going to work here, gain more experience, and then when she graduates, we'll kind of look for other opportunities. And this whole time, I was still training for, my first world championships in 2013, and so trying to balance all of that was was pretty hard. But you, after college, going through the process of college, you kind of learn how to do really good time management. So we worked through that. I took a few different jobs because I was just trying to build my experience and get to a position where I had flexibility for competition and training, but I also was building and furthering my career. And I still, so that was 5 or 6 years, 7 years ago ish, when I graduated college, and I'm still kind of in that building my career and my experience. Haven't really found that long term career yet because of the demand that training is taking. And I'm lucky enough to have my bills and be able to train.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think that's um, definitely a blessing to be able to do that, and definitely have that support too, and that flexibility to do that. Why don't you talk about your marketing career? Like what for? I know a lot of our students here probably don't have much experience with um, marketing. So why don't you just give a little?
Sorry, I'm getting a call. Let me.
Okay.
Okay, good.
So what is marketing?
Okay,
What's the
sorry. Ask that again. I was trying.
Oh, no, you're good. I was just talking about why don't you give us a little insight on marketing, what that entails, and maybe some of the things that you do, because that's really not a career that's out here, but I think that maybe it's a possibility that maybe students can do it from home or maybe in a distance. I don't know. Maybe you can explain a little bit about that.
Yeah, yeah. That's marketing is it's a business function, and it's essentially a lot of people see it as just advertising, like the commercials you see on TV or the banners you see on the website or the annoying ads you see on social media. That's just a very small part of it. Marketing is really everything inside a business that relates to the product, whether it's product development or packaging of the product or how big or small the product should be, how the product tastes or looks or whatever, to the pricing of the product, advertising or sponsorship or um, sending out mail ad things, mail flyers, social media engagement, and then the distribution of the product. So, are you going to sell online? Are you going to sell in a store? Are you going to have other people sell for you? Or are you going to sell to other businesses? Like how the sales start. So in my mind, marketing is really everything that's not keeping track of the accounting and not keeping track of the actual people in the business. If that makes sense, the managers and stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely.
Um, and the with the digital world we live in, the great thing about marketing is there's several opportunities to do a little bit of marketing, but mostly sponsorship sales for a snowmobile racing team. And you guys probably know about snowmobiling up there. Hopefully, so I'd love to go snowmobiling up in Alaska, but um, so I don't love sales, but it allows me to have the flexibility I need to go and train. And then I do have some influence, not a lot, but some influence on the social media and pics and the trailer graphics and things like that. So that's what I do now for my job.
Awesome. And so is that just a 4-year degree, or did you have to get some more schooling after your bachelor's degree?
The good and bad thing about marketing is a degree helps. Like I'll never tell somebody not to go to college, but there are opportunities if you either can't go to college or just can't handle college. Either way, there are opportunities to learn online. I mean, you could honestly go onto YouTube and just, if you were motivated and you were willing to learn, you could learn from some of the best marketers in the world how to do good marketing and never have to go to school. Um, I don't, some people will learn better that way. And if you do, then I think that's a viable option. But I do recommend college because maybe not necessarily for what you will specifically learn, but for the networking opportunities you have in college and the opportunity you learn how to like structure your time, you learn how to meet deadlines, you learn there's a lot of lessons you learn in college that I think is really important, but there are alternative options.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that that's good to hear too, because out here, I have a lot of students who you know probably prefer that little distance learning, or have some opportunities
Mhm.
to do some of those things. Because too, I mean, there's lots of lodges and here in our region for like fishing and guiding.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
tourism.
so there's a lot of that too. I know a lot of our students have been looking into tourism and being able to maybe do some marketing that way, or tap into that market too. So I think this gives them a little bit of insight on some different avenues that they can take to maybe reach some of their goals.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that, hopefully they'll wanna go to college and they're in a position where they can, whether it's leaving town and going somewhere to college, or whether it's online learning through a university setting, or if they can't and they really just, whether it's financial reasons or other reasons, they have to learn on their own, specifically in marketing. And I think you can do this with anything now because of the internet. But if you're willing to put in the time and sift through the stuff that's not very good and find the stuff that is really good, you can be get pretty far ahead. And like especially out there, like the internet. So it's very hard to be a good blogger or content creator, but if somebody wants to put in the time and the work and learn how to do it, they could put in the work, create a blog about tourism in Alaska and write about it and take pictures and create a social account and do a lot of things like that. And maybe it could help them get a job at one of the lodges. And maybe they don't just do marketing, but they could have part of their job be marketing, and or maybe somebody else recognizes that they're doing a good job, or so there's a lot of opportunities to think outside the box.
Yeah, and I think what you just talked about too, blogging, or doing the pictures, or um, those types of things. I mean, I didn't even think about that aspect of possibly for marketing, or just a great avenue to start and to get good at doing those things. So um, well, Tyson, I think we're just wrapping up here, and I want to just give you a moment to, if there's any last words that you want to share in regards to what we've talked about, or a last message, or where people can find you, look at what you're doing. Give you a little bit of time here to do so.
Yeah, and I appreciate the time to talk with you guys. Hopefully this is beneficial to everybody. Um, I I do want to say, so if you are, not everybody can do it, but one of the things, there's a lot more opportunities than you may think. Um, Obviously, Division 1, NCAA Division 1 is what you see on TV, and that's what is has the most prestige. But there's a lot of smaller universities, smaller junior colleges that maybe if you're not a great athlete, but you're a pretty good athlete, there's opportunities if you just want to play. And you can look for those if you're interested, and I'm sure Mr. Welch can help you find those if you're interested. Some schools, even like Division 3 schools, will they almost let anybody on the team, but you may have a practice squad role or something like that. So I think if you are set on being a college athlete, there's possible opportunities there for you to go, even if you're not like, I mean, you have to be a good athlete, but you don't have to be crazy amazing like some people may think or tell you. And then I think being consistent in anything you do. So consistency, whether you're want to be a great basketball player, that consistency comes with taking 1,000 shots a day. Or if you want to be a great marketer, you got to be learning and always staying on top of trends. Or if you want to be a great fisherman, or whatever it is, you got to just stay consistent and learn, do a little every day, and then adapting as things come up, I think is really important. I'm happy to be a resource. I don't know everything, but I'm happy to be a resource for any of the kids that may have questions about business or marketing or college athletics. They can I'm on social media, mostly Facebook and LinkedIn. I don't post a lot, but I do check them. So if somebody wants to send me a message, they can, or Instagram. I do Instagram as well. So they can send me a message there, or if they want to just ask you, you can give them my email. That works too.
Okay.
I just was saying about goal setting that I think it's really important to set goals and to don't be scared to set big goals, because failing at things is a good thing. A lot of people don't think failing is good, but I think failing is good. And then, so set your goals. And if you do fail, learn from that failure and adjust and adapt, and then set more goals. And then just keep doing that process over and over until you get to the point where you achieve your goals, and then start new goals. And that's basically what I ended with.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Tyson, for shedding some light onto college athletics, professional athletics, and the marketing realm of right now what you're doing. Appreciate the time um, I had with you today to kind of share a little bit about your life and what's going on, and thank you for being a great example of someone that does those things and helping us out.
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity to do it. And feel free to reach out, or if your kids have questions that they want to ask me, I'm happy to help if I can.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks, Tyson. Talk to you later.
All right.
How awesome was that? You got to be able to listen to a real professional athlete, gave you insight what it takes to reach that next level of working at or working towards a college athletic career, as well as the importance of getting some education. Hopefully, he gave you a little insight on the college athletics side of things, but also to the academic athletics side of things with him pursuing a marketing degree. So he gave us some great advice, some goal setting, and advice on adapting to your situation. So thanks again to Tyson. Really appreciate it. Hopefully, this gives you a little insight on something we really don't have around here. All right. See you next time.